My name is Claire. I've been a housewife for 2 years since getting married. We still don't have any children.
I fell in love at first sight.
That was how we started. We began dating after Timothy made a move. I felt so happy to be loved. But women are simple creatures. When we're loved, we tend to want to love in return, and the affection can flip. Now, I feel like I'm the one who loves my husband more. I'm not unloved by my husband, but I'm definitely way more in love with Timothy. He seems to have sensed that and is okay with me being somewhat demanding. There are things, from cute to a bit excessive. But in the end, love conquers all, right? It's hard to resist when you can forgive anything. Ultimately, I end up getting my way. Being a stay-at-home wife, I do have a certain degree of freedom. I understand that Timothy would feel some dissatisfaction if I didn't indulge some of my whims. Lately, Timothy has been going to his parents' house every time he has a day off. We used to visit them often since they live nearby, but for me, it's someone else's home, and having my mother-in-law there makes me even more uncomfortable. I wish he would spend his days off with me instead. That's what I think, but Timothy doesn't seem to feel the same way. I asked him once, "Why have you been going to your parents' house so often?"
There's nothing to do when we're just at home together, right? Just visiting my parents is a way to show that I am a good son. Wouldn't it be better to be filial?
Just spending a relaxing day at home together on our day off. My husband considers even that to be a waste of time. The only saving grace about going to my in-laws' house is that my mother-in-law doesn't engage in any bullying and is indifferent to my presence. So, you could say it's easy, but once she opens her mouth,
"Still no children? I want to see my grandchild soon."
when she says that, it gets a bit tiring. If you let us stay at home on our days off, maybe we could have children. I mutter such complaints in my mind. And since my husband doesn't want me, there's nothing I can do. My husband isn't cold to me, but since having a child isn't something I can do alone, I wish he would show a little more support. When I told Timothy, "I wish you would back me up when your mother brought up having a child."
For the sake of filial piety, having a child is important too. Well, we still don't need one, right?
If that's the case, could you talk to your parents about it? It's difficult for me to bring it up.
I don't care about that.
Even when I bring it up, Timothy brushes it off, completely ignoring my concerns. And so, I continued to live in a situation where I felt pressured to have children. As each day passed, the stress slowly broke me down. It seems like Timothy has lost all interest and concern for me, treating me casually, and of course, there's no intimacy between us anymore. Whenever he has free time, he either goes to his parents' house or plays golf with colleagues from work. It's as if he doesn't see me at all. Nowadays, I'm like a housekeeper supporting my husband's life. When I told him, "I want you to value our time together,"
I come home from work and stay at home, isn't that good enough?
he just simply answered like that. And that's the end of the conversation. Oh. What am I even? Even when I try to talk, saying things like, "I bought some clothes today."
Ha! What are you buying with my money? If you're buying clothes, then I can buy whatever I want too, right?
Whenever we talk, he speaks angrily, so it's exhausting. Our conversations have been decreasing gradually, and that's the current state of our marriage. Even though I cook meals and keep the house clean to satisfy Timothy when he comes home, I can't help but wonder what's still not enough. Before I realized it, I found myself going to a certain place. One day, when Timothy came home, He stood in front of me. Suddenly, he said to me,
"Let's get divorced."
Timothy was grinning. I wonder what his intentions were.
Being with you isn't fun, and my parents are also saying we should divorce if we're not having kids. You might think I'm everything to you, but let's get divorced.
He probably expected me to refuse. Too bad for him. Oh, sure. Here you go. The divorce papers. I had already gone to get the divorce papers, so I handed them to him right away.
Ha! Divorce?
Timothy looked confused. What are you surprised about when you're the one who brought it up? You want a divorce, right? Well, this is perfect. I've had enough too. There's hardly any conversation between us, and whenever I do something, you complain. Your parents might think it's my fault we can't have kids, but it's not just me, right? If there's no intimacy between us, how can we expect to have children? I let out all my complaints, slammed the divorce papers with only my section filled out, and urged Timothy to fill out his part as well. I urged Timothy, and he filled out and signed the divorce papers. Then, I took the papers to the city hall and submitted them immediately. Timothy seemed flustered, but I didn't care anymore. I didn't know why he suddenly brought up divorce, but I had been waiting for this moment. When I returned home after submitting the divorce papers at the city hall, Timothy said to me,
"You should leave. This is my house."
The panic he showed just a moment ago seemed to disappear. Timothy now looked at me with cold eyes, as if he were a different person altogether. With an even colder gaze than his, I calmly began to speak. "Did you forget? This apartment belongs to me. It's in my name, and I've been living here since before we got married. I bought it when I was working, so you have no obligation to live here. Also, I sold the apartment on my way back from the city hall, so please leave as soon as possible." Upon hearing this, Timothy turned pale in an instant.
"Wait, but I've been paying the rent."
"Well, we were married until now. But not anymore. Why don't you go to your beloved parents' house? Goodbye."
"Wait a minute. With property division, half of your savings should be mine. I know about it. You've saved nearly $100,000.
I see, so that's what it was all about. It finally makes sense why Timothy suddenly brought up divorce. So, you were after my savings. Well, too bad. This money is what I saved when I was single, so I can't split it with you." Timothy looked stunned. Clearly, he didn't understand at all. With that thought, I quickly packed my belongings and left the house. I returned to my parents' home and told them about the divorce. However, since my sister's family also lived there, I decided not to live with them. With the money from selling the apartment and my savings, I found an apartment to rent. It's in a town not far from my parents' place, so I started living on my own. It was my first time living alone in a while. I found a new job and started working again. I've been leading a fulfilling life. Since we divorced without any alimony or hassle, it's been incredibly easy. I've been enjoying a carefree life without any complicated procedures. Then, after several months, I received a call from Timothy.
"Hey! Come back. I can't stand living at my parents' place."
He sounded quite agitated. "But you used to love living there so much. Why the sudden change?" I replied casually while watching a movie and drinking beer. As I listened to him, he explained that even after the divorce, He was being pressured into remarriage and constantly nagged to hurry up and show his parents a grandchild. It seems like my in-laws just wanted a grandchild, no matter who the daughter-in-law was. He also mentioned his mother's friends all have grandchildren, so she's feeling anxious. Oh, okay. Good luck with that. I just said so and then hung up the phone. Afterward, Timothy continued to contact me occasionally. He told me that he had arranged a matchmaking meeting with an older woman from the neighborhood and got engaged. Moreover, both families were pressuring them to have children right away. Timothy still talks about getting back together, but to me, it's just the consequences of his actions. He seems to think that if I return, we'll have children together just as I wish. What is he even talking about? He completely ignored me when I was in distress and being pressured. I think it's great. You were the one saying it's important to be filial and have children, right? Isn't this your chance to be filial? And the reason we divorced was because we weren't having children, right? Maybe it's better to make them forcibly? Ah, this beer tastes good today.
Seriously, listen to me. That wasn't my intention. I was planning to have children with you in due course, but you agreed to the divorce so easily. I just wanted to be above you.
He started making excuses. Oh, my beer suddenly tastes bad, so I'm hanging up. Timothy was shouting something on the other end, but I ended the call and blocked his number. Maybe he thought he could get away with this demand since I've accommodated his whims in the past. The following year, I received a call from my ex-mother-in-law, telling me that it turned out that Timothy was the reason we couldn't conceive, leading to the cancellation of his engagement with the older bride. Furthermore, it seemed he had been secretly accumulating debt, which had spiraled out of control and become unmanageable. Then, even my ex-mother-in-law pleaded with me.
Please marry Timothy.
I told her. There's no way I'd marry someone who was after my savings. Instead of contacting me, he should focus on finding a job. My ex-mother-in-law started crying, so I quickly hung up the phone and blocked both her and my ex-father-in-law's numbers. 2 years later, I remarried someone I met at work. My new in-laws are kind and understanding people, so I didn't experience any stress. Thanks to this, we were blessed with a child shortly after getting married, and now we happily live as a family of 3. I aim to continue living independently to ensure this